cacao in Caribbean, organized by the Alliance, and there are many organizations, institutions, and projects that have added their experience and knowledge to share with us the different aspects of cultivation and production of cacao. Today we have a second webinar. Today we're going to talk about total quality of cacao from the harvesting to the protocols. We're very pleased that Dr. Elsa Heckman is joining us from Costa Rica. She's German, but she's lived in Costa Rica for many years, managing a cacao farm, and also involved in many projects for research and development. We also joined by Dr. Mariana Arciegas Elcatia. She is an expert in genetic characterization of cacao. She is a member of Eco Fine Cocoa, and also participates as a professional degustator. She is Colombian, but she has worked many years with Cati and has worked for many years assisting with the farms. So both of them will be contributing. And we will also have participation of Viviana Medina from Puerto Rico, who has had a leadership role in cacao growing in Puerto Rico. And all three of us will discuss the quality and what it means, and will provide us some practical advice on how to improve the quality of the chocolate seed that we need, so that all of us as chocolate makers, manufacturers, farmers, we kind of all have that background. We will start first with the brief presentation by Elsa, and then Viviana will be speaking. And then the second part of the seminar will be as a round table. I hope that these three experts will give us valuable information. I wanted to mention to everyone that we are recording this seminar. It will be placed in our YouTube channel. And there's also a translation, interpreters working, and sign language option available. So thanks to everyone for being here. Thank you so much for your introduction. Really appreciate it. Let me know if you can see the presentation. My name is, thank you so much. My name is Dr. Elsa Heckman. I'm German, but I've worked for 6 years in Costa Rica for the German company Rausch. And today I would like to talk about the holistic quality of cacao from the harvest to the protocols. Before I start, please allow me to say a few words about the Rausch company. And I also would like to address the main factors in the selection of the crops, the topic of hygiene, and the management of post-harvest as well. The Rausch family has almost 100 years of history in producing fine chocolate products from cacao. They're based in Berlin in Germany, and has been procuring cacao seeds from different parts of the world, from Madagascar and also Latin America, producing chocolates with different percentages of cacao, and some of them come from here, from Costa Rica. The idea was always to have one day our own farming project. So we would be able to work with a small farm and for producing chocolate. So here we have a farm, a plantation where we not only produce cacao as a raw material, but also we carry out research projects, collaborating with universities, with academic communities, and also have a capacity building function. The farm is located at a high altitude. The farm is started in 2015. Originally, it was a farm that has been used for grass production, for producing meat. And so we have changed it dramatically over time, as you see on the photos, creating 25 hectares of different agroforestal systems. And we currently grow 11 types of fine cacao. Now we are starting a very important project, which is the analysis of different lots to understand the behavior and how the cacao reacts to different conditions. We register the production lots by variety, and also implement strict phytosanitary controls. There are a lot of issues we're facing with pests. But we've been able to control that, and our research that we have carried out has enabled us to understand better the nature of the plagues and the diseases, which gives us good indication of when we should act. So we have a more control of the patterns of in production. And here we have the 3 key factors that impact the final quality of cacao. It's the genetic makeup, the climate conditions as it grows, and the handling. And today I would like to focus on the handling aspect, because we often see that the even very fine quality product upon harvesting can be affected at the stage of processing, handling. So the genetics is very important, but the processing part of the fermentation stages and others are very, very important for quality. On the left, we have example of when the grains, cacao grains, come in mixed of grains of different quality. It does have impact in the end, because as they go into the fermentation process. It can have it makes a difference. So the selection of the raw materials is very important, that they be pure and free of any external different grains. Here we have the importance of the adequate selection of the cobs, so that the aroma, the flavor is appropriate in the end. Here we have more visuals about the quality control institute, how we clean the cobs and then ensure that the final product is appropriate. We ensure homogenic product. We ensure that the grains are same size, same quality, which in the end contributes to the quality in the end. Also, we face we have to monitor closely the temperature to ensure that it's stable. Sometimes because of the climatic factors, we have to ensure that there is not too much alcohol in the process of fermentation. And all of that is important in the process of fermentation. We have to watch, we have to smell, we have to try the grains in the season, the process. It's very important to have the fermentation area in a separate space so that there are no animals, no hay, and no other factors that could provoke contamination through external factors. So the selection of the variety is very important, because it's important for the final quality of chocolate. So the initial step, having the right genetics, is very important. It's important to have control of disease and any plagues. The way in which the cacao grain seeds are handled, the fermentation process and quality control throughout is very important, as well as the process of drying. When we also work with other cacao producers to exchange experiences and adopt best practices. And of course, storage. The conditions have to be clean with right temperature and humidity, because all of those factors can impact the cacao seeds throughout the time. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think Luz has some questions. Oh, the questions we're going to keep until the end. And so we'll pass the microphone. Maybe somebody can help me to see how I can turn off the presentation. Thank you very much, Dr. Bien, Dr. Elsa, for your presentation. What I'd like to share today is something very simple that has to do with the countries that get in that are part of the Nexus C. Let me know once you can see my presentation. I'm going to change your name. It says Luis Orozco, but I'm going to change the name on your screen because you introduced as Luis Orozco. I'm not sure why that is. Please let me know if you can see the presentation. We're going to have 3 brief presentations, as you saw. And in the end, we're going to open up the floor with some general questions for the 3 presenters. And then the public will have an opportunity to interact directly with them. You can also, as we go through the presentations, you can also leave your questions in the chat box here on the Zoom platform. And we will try to address the questions as we go. And we do not answer them as we go. We'll give them to each presenter so they can be answered in the end. So we have a chat box for interaction. And in the end, we're going to open up the mic so everybody can participate. Viviana, maybe we should proceed with your presentation first because Adriana's presentation is not loading while that is being solved. Yes, the image looks frozen. So I'm not sure if it's on my end or on yours. I will try to put it up on mine. My apologies, but you know, as you know, always happens in the modern world. We have 57 participants that are with us in the webinar, and there are 10 panelists and including translators. So we appreciate everybody's attention and extend an invitation to all of you that will be taking place on Thursday, June 13th. We will be talking about the program for genetic improvements, CATI, and this will be an opportunity to understand what kind of studies are developed within CATI and also what type of new variations of cacao are emerging and how all that can contribute to cacao growers in the region. I still have it on the screen is loading. Let's see what's happening. Let's proceed. I will put up Dr. Elsa's contact information for chat box. We already have the presentation. You can see it. Good morning to everyone. Sorry about the technological glitch. We've started out with Dr. Elsa discussing about management, the importance of different components such as genetics, what is handling, processing, and all other steps post-harvest. And now we're going to focus on the international classification for fine aromatic product. And we will join in to explain what is Cacao excellence and the importance of these international competitions to help the producers to have a product of high quality. So we're going to focus on what is COEX. It's an international competition for cacao that started in 2009, and now it's the most prestigious worldwide. Because it's COEX recognizes the work of the cacao producers and celebrates the quality and diversity of different cacao flavors in different parts of the world. And genetics is very important to have a variety of flavors, and having it and recognizing it is very important, and that's one of the purposes of COEX. How do these competitions work? First, every country has to establish a national committee, and that national committee receives local samples. These seeds go through the selection of at least 3 samples. If the country has won other competitions, they can submit more. Then the seeds are being sent to Rome, and there's a blind tasting, blind evaluation of the physical qualities of these seeds. And here the factors come into play as described by Elsa, such as fermentation and other. Now it's being evaluated as cacao a liquid, and so there's the top 50 are being selected, and at the next level, after cacao mass, the next stage ends up in selection of the best producers of cacao in the world. And myself, my role is to manage the national level in Puerto Rico, the selection of those cacao seeds. What is important in terms of competition and participation? First, it enables one to promote quality at national and international level, since it's an opportunity to highlight the work of the producers, since they're the ones that have to dry, that have to harvest at the right moment. And their work has been recognized. And second, the recognition and visibility at a global level is very important, because this international competition has opened up the doors for local producers to exterior markets, which may deliver a better price, better sales for the product. And one of the important aspects is the conservation of this genetic diversity, because these varieties may have an extraordinary quality, and so the being highlighted in the program allows for protection of these species to continue with these very special variances, varieties of cacao. And the another important factor is the strengthening of the community. Some countries have very long history of cacao production for many years, and it's strengthened even more so when there is an entity that values and recognizes the achievements. And here in Puerto Rico, it has been a question of national pride for the producers, and has helped the industry get organized better. The timeline for cacao excellence in Puerto Rico here is on the slide. First, we participated in 2015. So those who have sent the samples was basically sent by the experimental station of USDA. We in Puerto Rico do not have a long history of cacao cultivation. It was basically starting out in 2011, 2012. So in 2015, we were just at the very beginning of this process. And in 2017, one by David Valentin was selected for the best 50. In 2019, David Valentin, Gustavo Diaz, both of them entered among top 50. In 2021, two were selected as part of top 50. And this time competition had bronze, silver, and gold, and both of these were silver winners. In 2023, we have again David Valentin, because he's been a champion in this, and Jorge Morales also entered with silver, and David Valentin with bronze. And now in 25, we are looking forward to the next edition. So it's important to start a year before separating the seeds. So usually it's November, December 2024 when you would need to send the samples to Rome. So here we are closing the part of the international competition. It's not the only competition. There are also chocolate competitions, other cacao competitions, hot chocolate, and we have entered in many of them and have also won. So it has been very rewarding to have good results, and it elevates our motivation and national pride. And now we're going to proceed to Adriana's presentation. She's going to start. Thank you so much for your presentation. Please let me know if you can see the presentation.
Now we have it. I hope that now we actually get it right. Okay. Is everybody seeing this? Yes, go ahead. Okay. Well, basically, today I'm going to talk to you about the decision of presenting the title being Controversy, to belong or not to belong to the Annex C list of the International Organization of Cocoa, ICO. Before telling you what Annex C is, let's define or review the two market segments that we have, the biggest ones, the typical cocoa or the fine cocoa. We don't use fine, an aromatic one, we just say fine cocoa. If we say it's fine, it'll have aroma. There is no unique criteria that is accepted to define a fine or special cocoa. Still, we have to follow the origin of where that cocoa comes from. What special genetics does it have? What are the practices, the management practices that it has pre and post harvest around this particular cocoa? And what are the physical characteristics and the chemical characteristics, as Viviana mentioned before? And finally, it must throw an organic profile that it's distinct, that it has aromas, flavors that are differentiated, but special, more than basic attributes of the cocoa, like the bitterness, the astringency, the flavor of cocoa, and its sweetness. You must have other notes like floral ones, fruit ones, caramel, nuts, all of these nuances. That it results also spices and so on. So we want a unique and attractive flavor for the confection of a fine chocolate, okay? So what is Annex C of the ICCO? Many people ask themselves that it's just a list where countries are written down that references that they have fine cocoa, but that's not the only thing it is. What I want to say is that this document is put together, goes with, I mean, the list is a document that goes with a list and the export, again, the volume of exports that in fine cocoa that the countries that have a technical dossier, and after a panel constituted by more than 15 people from different professions, where we have geneticists, exporters, importers, tasters, traders. It's a very complete panel that has all sorts of different lines, and they can evaluate conscientiously if a country has or doesn't have a fine cocoa. That document of this list then goes together with the International Cocoa Convention that was introduced in the year 2010, which is an international treaty that establishes a cooperation framework between the producing and consuming countries of cocoa. This international treaty touches on many different topics: production, commerce or trade, fair trade, the consumption of cocoa, nutrition, the prices, subsidies, policies that support producers, amongst others. So it's not just about being in a list, just to be there. You need to understand that C Annex was created when the ICCO was a regulatory entity of international cocoa commerce. What did that mean? That the countries had to declare their volumes of cocoa that was differentiated from the normal or current or average cocoa, so that when they were going to do transactions, they would have better prices. And also, you could not apply the taxes on export towards other countries. But this has changed, including the tariffs, of course. So now we don't see that much of a tangible benefit. But it's important that you understand what the history is about, how it was created, and how that Annex C was created. And it's included in the Article 39 of the Treaty of International Trade. So what can I do and how can I participate in Annex C? Listening to the International Cocoa Organization, prepare a dossier, a technical dossier in an indicated format. The format is established to present the type of genetics, export volumes, how many average cocoa pods you have or grains, how much do you have in fine cocoa, to show if you've won any kind of prize, like the Excellence of Cocoa one, like Viviana told us about, or if you've earned an International Chocolate Award, or initiatives like Cacao that differentiate between quality cocoa and fine cocoa. You also see the production volume, the price that's being paid for those volumes. So it's a technical dossier that's very complete. There's specified dates from the International Organization of Cocoa, and it's done basically between February and March. And you have the possibility of presenting the technical dossier until the end of April. Sometimes you're given a bit more space if you need it. This technical dossier is not only presented by the countries that are paying quotas, because they're member countries. Countries that are non-members can present it, and there is a specific date, an end date, to present and defend that technical dossier. For the ad hoc panel that is made up of experts, the most important or relevant factors that dictate the grants of the particular fine cocoa assignation, so that we compare the exportation volumes, the export volumes, that we don't just compare the numbers, but also we need to present the evidence that the people that buy the cocoa are paying an overprice because it is a fine cocoa. So then we compare all of these volumes of the export and import volumes, and we verify with all of the documentation. We also evaluate everything that has to do with the research of the genetical compositions of the plantations where they are, because this role is very important when we're talking about integral quality of the grains, of the pods. We want to see the percentage of import exports, prizes, awards received, be it for the beans or the chocolate, what has been sold above the established price and the price established in the New York Stock Exchange and the British Stock Exchange. And we see what of those batches continue with this quality, this level of quality. I want to show here that in the C annex, if it's true that people say, no, it's just about being there. Well, there's one country in the world today, which is Germany. It's the only country that in order to produce its fine chocolate, which have a high quantity of cocoa, they're called the Elbiter chocolate. I'm not a very good German speaker, but basically they cannot buy, if the origin of the cocoa, of those grains, does not come from countries that are on the Annex C list. That also happened with other countries. We've kind of lost that with the other countries, but the idea is to pick this up again so that it's not just Germany, but other countries like Belgium, Switzerland, Japan, and others that are going to pay this overcharge for the prices that are listed there, for the countries listed there. So I want to finish this presentation with a final reflection, which is, even though it's controversial, I consider that it's very important to participate, to present your technical dossier, because even though ICO should not be the arbiter that tells you whether you have a fine or high quality cocoa, because one thing is the integral quality that you might have in many varieties, and another thing is the differentiation or the distinction that you might have with a fine cocoa. So it is important to submit the technical dossier so the experts in genetics, taste, and so on can really value and define that you have a differentiated cocoa or fine cocoa. This also gives you a positioning at the international arena, a prestige for which you get paid when you have this type of this cocoa on the list. It's a fabulous tool to improve the market in your countries. You can have a price requirement. There's work, there's recognition, there's diversity within that. And it's not the only tool that we can use to validate or value, but it is the one that's accepted nowadays. And to close, I just want to say that of the 57 that are producing cocoa, only the Annex C in 2023, there are only 22 countries that are listed there and that have quotas of fine cocoa. So thank you very much. And we're ready for your questions. Thank you, Yana, and all of you for your presentations. So now let's begin with the forum to talk with the three of you. We have some questions here that are kind of, spicy to lift the flavor and the knowledge that we're sharing here. And then we will open to the public's questions. We have some technical questions in the chat that we're going to try to work with after these brief consultations. So let's start first with a question. Maybe I'm going to direct them first in the topics that you both talked about. And if anyone wants to compliment, of course, you're welcome to. Adriana, recently, in the cocoa sector of Costa Rica, a decree or a communique came out from the Ministry of Agriculture that the Costa Rica decided to leave the ICCO and not be a part of this organization anymore. And obviously, that fine cocoa producer status that was there officially gets lost because you're not on the list on Annex C. So my question is, does that automatically qualify Costa Rica as a country that cannot offer fine cocoa, or the genetics and the product that it has can be sold as fine cocoa to any other client without having that status or to being on that Annex C list? Go ahead. Thank you, Luis, for your wide question, because it has quite a few components, spicy components. Well, one thing is, and it's to clear up something. One thing is to be a member state, and Costa Rica stopped being a member state. And that means paying a quota, participate in the meetings, be up to date in all of the production, import, export things, etc., and give its opinions and help in many aspects that are worked on projects that are being developed when you are part of a member state. But to be part of the C annex of the countries that are on a list as being producers of fine cocoa can be not, that can be from a country that is not a member. So the fact that Costa Rica is no longer part of a member state doesn't mean that it's going to disappear from the list, because it can present its technical dossier and be evaluated even though it's not being a member state. One thing that's very important, and as part of, I think it's part of your question, is that yes, we can have an assignation that says that we're 100% fine cocoa or 70% fine cocoa. This is a value thing that's very important, that even if you don't have the 100% or 70% quota, that does not mean that we do not have standard coca in the countries where they're being evaluated. That means that those assignations are in function of the proper exports that the country performs, and the overprice that you are paid for a fine cocoa, and that you can demonstrate that it is so. So many times that leads to controversy, because you can say, yeah, well, 100% fine cocoa, but really you have other cocos in the region, like for example, the CCN 51, and another one that is not listed as having those qualities of being fine cocoa. So here it's important to clear up this, that you can continue being a country that's producer of fine cocoa, but that doesn't mean that you do not have the average sector coca in your country to breed. So it's about integral quality, genetics, and all the processes that lead to a differentiation for this type of cocoa. I don't know if anyone else wants to say something, people in the panel who've been there, what you think about it. I had more than anything a question, a follow-up question. And looking at it from the point of view of Puerto Rico, where we don't participate in the annex, but still, one of the characteristics that is used to market the cocoa that is created in Puerto Rico as producers is that it is a fine and aromatic cocoa. So maybe what we have to validate this is the competitions like the ones we've participated in. But in your opinion, a country that is not within that list, what resources can you give to producers to validate that they have a distinctive cocoa based on its quality, if you're not a part of that particular list? You asked me a question, but there's a noise back here that doesn't allow me to listen very well, but I'm going to tell the person here with the machine, give me a minute, please, because I can't hear you. Elsa, maybe you can give us a bit of information because you have a lot of information on the quality cocoa and not being on this list from Costa Rica. What can you use to back the fact that you nominate yourself a fine cocoa? And you're on mute. Okay. I'm not as up to date as Adriana, but from what I understand, Puerto Rico did not present the dossier, but they're analyzing the options of how to promote their cocoa as fine cocoa abroad. So as Adriana was saying, it's a very particular case in Germany because we depend on 100% on that C annex. So we've analyzed the possibility of using cocoa from new destinations to confectionate more chocolate from different types of origins. But we are a bit hand-tied to that policy. But I know that there's a discussion now on what's going on nowadays relating to how to facilitate combinations for small countries that cannot reach the volumes and market the chocolate in the same way, or the cocoa. So maybe to be able to introduce some exceptions. I'm not very sure if I understand your question well. So maybe if you can clear up the specific doubt you have. Yes. What happens when you do not belong to Annex C and the cocoa that you're producing or that you want to market, you want to do it under that label, but you're not under the annex. Like, for example, in Germany, you're hand-tied. In order to categorize it as fine, it has to be part of that list of the annex. Maybe in other countries, it's not like this. And that might be an avenue. It was mainly to see what alternatives are there for countries like Puerto Rico that do not have the volumes required in order to be part of that list. But they need to be able to distinguish themselves in order to continue being competitive. And they're doing it through other types of means. I know that Luis has other questions and things.
The second question is as follows. In this world of quality and tastings, there are thousands of competitions and tastings. There's Tasting Chocolate Institute, there's a Cacao and Chocolate Awards. There are many organizations that are participating in this field. As a producer, as someone like Elsa that works on a farm or an association of producers, how many competitions do we have to participate in? Some of these competitions are easy to participate in, others there's a high cost for participation and time invested. How many competitions should we go to, and what do we gain as a result? Adriana, you have all these controversial questions, and it's difficult to answer precisely from my perspective, it's difficult to answer and how many competitions you want to participate, because every one of them has a different focus. For example, the COEX, as Viviana has been explaining, and I'm a part of COEX at the technical on the technical committee, we evaluate the seeds and we highlight the processing, the quality, genetic quality, and all of these things that contribute to quality. And then other competitions focus on the quality of chocolate per se, as the Institute for Chocolate and Cacao. So it depends on what it is that you want, which market you want to focus on. What do you want to be known for? So do you want to highlight your seeds, or do you want to highlight your taste? For example, there's a competition that focuses on gourmet cacao. So the papers are important. These recognitions are important because I think the price is impacted by the awards that you have. I feel that some of these competitions help the country of origin to stand out for its quality of cacao, and COEX and other smaller competitions are important also at the national level to motivate the participants of the market to work on quality and improve the aroma profiles, because it's one part of as far as pricing is concerned, price is impacted by the negotiation. But as a producer, I should be able to respond to the demand. And COEX has I'm sorry if the sound quality is very poor. So there are many aspects that affect the price. So it's important to step out and participate in the competitions. And if you have a certificate of award, it could be easier to access the buyer and negotiate. But you have to see if those things are reflected in the price. It also depends how well you negotiate. But I think it is good for the country, and it has happened in Costa Rica. It has been a great motivation, and it has been very motivational for us in the industry. Thank you, Elsa. The last question, perhaps we're going to address to Viviana. Every time that there are these competitions, annual, biannual, and I watch the when these awards are given out, and you see the media coverage, and everybody in the media says that we as a country have the best fine cacao. So if all of us have this ability in the Caribbean in terms of the climate and soil, do you think everybody has the potential to have the best cacao? Well, that's a very tricky question as well. What I have seen and what we see in the media, when the Guatemala or Mexico and Puerto Rico, and everybody says that we have the best fine cacao, the best cacao in the world. The truth is from what I've seen, is that everyone has the potential for having a distinct type of cacao based on the genetics, the terrain, and and the management, the processing. So I think all of that is important. And these awards, it's important that the award process be very independent and objective. It also depends on the client, because a client may want a very aromatic cacao. And because for the client, that characteristic is important at this point. And for another client, may have a different criteria in terms of acidity, in terms of taste. So that would be a different focus. So I think what's important is to highlight that we have to start with good genetics, and that will protect us from diseases, from plagues. And the second point is having the technology transfer available so that the producers know how to harvest, how to ferment, and how to process. Because we can have the best genetics, but if we don't harvest at the right time, or if we don't do fermentation in the right way, it will not be reflected in taste. The same about storage and drying. I think everybody has the potential, and it's shown in the results of these international competitions, where all of these regions have very special cacao based on results. And chocolate as an end result is delicious. I think it's a question of national pride, of saying that each place has the best cacao, but the truth is all these countries and all these producers that are able to maximize these key factors can have a very fine product and output. I think, just like Viviana, that we have the capacity to produce the cacao of very special qualities. And we have to remember that we are in the region that in the Caribbean, we have the best conditions historically. The Mesoamerica, that's where cacao has been born. So we have right conditions that allow us to reach the levels that you're discussing. But I think all the countries with taking care of quality, taking care of the seeds, I think we can accomplish great results. And the markets are very demanding, and they let us know what it is that they're looking for. Now we're going to proceed to the questions. So Caso Pineda from Brazil. When you have different types of seeds, should we do fermentation for each seed, or could we combine different seeds for fermentation purposes? Well, it depends a lot on the farm, on the size of the farm. It's much more intensive to do processing by each variety. So the farms that of large scale are able to do it by variety. But I would recommend everyone to do the tests on each variety. In fact, this was something that I did as part of my doctoral study, and you could see that the genotype impacts the type of fermentation. So if you have the same duration of fermentation, some of the varieties would be over fermented and some would be under fermented. So it's definitely a function of genotype. And for example, for us, we have a variety that that comes out better off when it's mixed with other varieties, because the process of fermentation is enabled better, so it gives better results. There are advantages and disadvantages. The disadvantage is that it requires more resource in terms of labor to do it by each variety. And in terms of aroma, sometimes different varieties complement one another for a better aroma. For example, sometimes one variety has very strong flowery taste, but missing something else. So combining the varieties enables to get a better result. Next question. In the process of fermentation, the humidity, the relative pressure in the environment in general, or at the facility, does that impact the microbiological aspects of the fermentation? I can answer, but I wanted to ask Dr. Elsa also to contribute, since she's done her doctorate in fermentation. Well, everything that has to do with the all of the environmental factors impact fermentation. For example, if you at high altitude or low altitude over the level sea level, that impacts the activity of these microorganisms, whether it's faster or slower. The humidity content in the seeds is important. That would either make the fermentation process longer or shorten it. So environmental aspects play a very important aspect, because it impacts how those microorganisms will perform in the process. Definitely, that's how you describe it. And what can also be done is have the area of fermentation, the boxes should be somewhat isolated from the environmental aspects, so as not to impact the process of fermentation. And it's also important to know if the fruit has come to its point of maturity during the ripeness, during the dry season or wet season or rainy season. So it's important to additionally to watch the fermentation process. We are fermenting here every 15 days, and each fermentation lot is behaving differently based on the conditions that are present at the moment, in terms of the degrees of temperature, etc. Another question for Vivian. In Puerto Rico, there are many materials that are known for their organoleptic qualities, and they're qualified as fine grains. Before that, I wanted to mention that the interpreters can leave if you have another event to cover. No, we don't. We're gonna continue. If these have been through the process of selection. There's a paper that describes which sensorial characteristics have been assigned by the degustator. It could be aroma or others. And when these varieties are processed in an appropriate way, well harvested, so the ones that have brought COEX prizes to Puerto Rico, COEX awards to Puerto Rico, those are the ones that have been managed appropriately. And I can say that those who have won were a combination of open pollinization and mixed pollinization as well. So I think Puerto Rico, aside from having good genetics, also has the right conditions. And yes, we do mix cross pollinization that has given good results. And even though we're not on the ANT list, but we do, we are known in, based on the results in international competitions.
From Pinay Castañeda, is there any study that has
Is there a
evaluated the
study
impact of these events, of
that
taste events in the producers who are buying them, and what kind of benefits do they have? I would say no.
the
I don't know if Viviana Rosa has knowledge on this.
The
I think it
question
would be a
is,
great job to do, to see what are the benefits or the added value that those competitions have brought to the marketplace. I would say no, but go ahead. It's not totally direct, but there are studies that, like the Fine Chocolate Institute from Carla Martin, who have evaluated the benefits of the certifications and the benefits that recognitions have given to some of the producers. And the results are kind of, they're in the gray area. There are different tones. It's not a total yes and it's not a total no. It's not clear cut. It's not a salvation tool. It's not, it doesn't give you the security that you will definitely get a differentiated price, but you will have a little bit more work, that you will have to go through some additional requirements, but that doesn't mean that you will have the market to sell it security. But those who are able to sell it might have an added value. But what we've seen in the studies, or the ones that they've shared with the industry, is that this economic differentiation is being, that gap between what is required in establishing these differentiating categories. So to those of you who are here, I can send you the studies that they have published about this. It's not necessarily about the competencies, but or the competitions, but yes, about the differentiations and the quality. Thank you, Viviana. Elsa, any comment? Any additional comment? Thank you. I just have one question, which is pretty technical. I'm going to put it there so we can close this, and Viviana, I would give it to you. From Luz Cuevas, it says, my question is there a temperature range in pH for each step in fermentation depending on the different types of cocoa? She knows general ideas, but she doesn't have specific recommendation for specific groups of cocoa. I think Elsa is the one who's probably better equipped because she deals with fermentation every day. Yes, definitely there are some, but maybe in the literature published, at least, yes, for this category, but for all types of genetic groups in different countries, you would have to contact the institutions. to see if they have the literature to have an idea of how to work with these. But there are the enzymes, the biochemical processes that you use in the fermentation process follow a pH range that's very strict. And you can see there, at least in the studies that I did, that the pH ranges are obtained. Some of them are before, and the accumulation of amino acids is different depending on the grain. So it depends on the genetics, but there is no actual literature that I know of that answers your full. From Oscar Hincapié, maybe Adriana can facilitate it. What are the Latin American countries that are included in the Annex C in the most recent evaluation? Maybe what we can do is give you the document through an email, but if you have something to comment, yeah. Oscar Hincapié from Colombia, I think, yeah. Go, Adriana, and then we'll close with that. Yes, Oscar, Colombia is in there, and it was designated. Its assignation, cocoa, fine cocoa quota was assigned, it's about 80%. Other countries in the region of the south is Peru, Ecuador, Brazil in the annex that I can remember right now from the evaluations of the dossier. And I could get you the list because there are more. In Central America, El Salvador is new on the list this year. Wasn't there before. And there are a few others. So of the ones that I can remember in the south, you also have Venezuela. And Central America and the Caribbean, you've got Haiti, Grenada, about 22 or 23. I will share it with you so that you can see the quotas. Thank you, Adriana, Viviana. You can close for us. Thank you all three for your presentations. Thank you for the colleagues for your presentations, Luis for facilitating so elegantly and for your questions that are controversial. The last thing I want to say is that the next seminar will be on a Thursday. It's not Friday because the presenter cannot follow our sequence, but will be here on a Thursday. So I changed it through the Zoom, but in case you haven't seen it in your calendars, please take it into account. I will send you a reminder, but so that you're aware. So thank you all. Thank you for the interpreters for your wonderful work. That makes it possible for us to extend the impact of these bioseminars. So good afternoon to everybody and have a great day. Presentations will be sent to all of you who are registered, okay? So we'll wait for Adriana to send her hers, and then Viviana will send it to you. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Thank you.